I was this close, dude. This close to going to bed a little earlier. Only to discover that my new lav mic, which as I hope you're hearing, makes me sound really sick now. Like sick as in like sick, not not like I'm sick. I recorded a whole video that must have been at least 10, 20 minutes long, and then I played it back, and all I got was no sound at all. Something was wrong with the way that I plugged in the lav mic, so now I have to completely redo this video. Okay, so having said that, I'm going to try to, as quickly as possible, to go through everything that I had said. Okay? So, what I did on the game today, as you can see, pretty cool new exterior. I introduced some new elements from the alternative exterior art set of assets that we have. I also noticed that these guys who I've been putting as pieces of visual storytelling, guys that you killed as you entered the level on the outside, that they didn't have their weapons with them before. So I added that in. And that was missing also from the first 4 levels of the game in the demo. So I went back and added the weapons to the next to the guys that got killed in there as well. And I am considering uploading a new version of the demo just to patch that in, even though nobody even noticed it. Which also disappoints me. And look at what's going on up here. Does this look correct to you? Oh yeah, it does. Never mind. Forget about that. As you can see, the lighting is a little different down here as well. I was playing with the lighting for what I want to do for that for the level, and also I started adding in the proper replacements for the walls and obstacles. Here's another nice big obstacle of plants. This is now the freshly fixed version of this bigger room. I'm just waiting now on Amanda to clean up this little gap here, unfortunately, that we have. And then we got to replace these two still as well, but surely I shall have that done probably tomorrow. And yeah, so not too much, just a small bit of progress today again on this, but I do believe that tomorrow or over the next couple of days I'll be able to finish this entire level, since it's pretty much just a matter of decorating now. And I'd really like to do that because I have been invited to participate in the Brutal Indies Showcase, and I must submit a trailer for that showcase on August 28th, and I think I'll need about 5 days to put together a solid trailer for that. So a couple more days of working on this, and it would be nice to have extra contents that I can use for footage in said new trailer. And I'm excited about that because I can use my new logo and my new branding to add on to that trailer, which the current trailers are lacking. That'll be a part of my whole rebranding process. I received several emails today as well from various publishers. First of all, still talking to one of these Japanese publishers, and then Arabit Studios, who I've already talked to a couple times, sent me an email letting me know that they came up with a publishing outline for Six Samurai. So I'm going to talk to them about that and see what they put together, and that is specifically just for Asia region. Looking forward to seeing what that's all about. I also got accepted into another showcase. This is the one that I mentioned in a previous video from a team called the Mix team, Media Indie Exchange. So I believe the first one was called the Fall Fest, and I chose not to participate in that because it cost $600 and I didn't think it was going to be worth it for me. This one is called Indie Fan Fest, run by the same guys, also $600 again. So I feel like I'm probably not going to participate for the same reason. This is meant to be a prelude to Steam Next Fest, which the next one's going to be in October, but I'm not going to be participating in that one. I probably won't participate in Next Fest until next summer, because that'll be closer to when I plan on actually releasing my game. Most, perhaps interesting of all, the most flattering, the most exciting email I got was from a new publisher I hadn't heard from yet called Dear Villagers. Now, the reason why I found this so interesting is because this is by far as I can tell, the most successful and biggest publisher that I've been contacted by so far. They have published multiple games that seem to have sold more than 100,000 copies, and they are like a boutique indie publisher specifically, seemingly with a good reputation. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I'm still not really interested in working with anyone on publishing in the Western world, since I do think I can take that on myself. I still have faith in myself that I can do it, and I feel like if I do it right and my game does blow up and I manage to succeed, I feel like that will be as a result of my own efforts. And so it would suck to have to then give up a big revenue chunk to a publisher who I think would, I mean, again, these guys are pretty good, so not to say that they wouldn't be helpful, but I feel like if it does exceptionally well, that it will be the result of my efforts. But that if I do not do well on my own, that's where a publisher would be useful, because then I would at least get some minimum level of success either way, right? Nothing huge probably, but it would grant me easier access to a lot of press outlets and stuff like that. So really it comes down to whether or not I believe in myself. Do I have complete faith? I think in the long term, my strategy and my business plan here is borderline guaranteed to succeed. I have that level of faith. But will it succeed within the next year? Will it scale up that quickly? That I'm not so sure about. And yet, in spite of that doubt, I think I'm going to push forward with myself anyway. There is perhaps some sense in which the greatest faith is when you keep going even when you do have doubts. Can't remember, I read that from somewhere, but I don't remember where. So that was pretty cool. And then I did my usual stuff. I hit the gym. I went to the park today. I wrote a couple new scripts. So here's the deal with the promotional campaign that I've been working on nonstop and talking a lot about. One of the biggest problems I had that I kept going back and forth on, and part of why I spent so much time writing these scripts, even though they're relatively short, they're just like 3-line TikTok style videos, is my bigger branding plan here is I have a bigger philosophical, spiritual mission that I'm on. And that's primarily what I want to express. But, well, okay, so then because of that, I kept trying to write these shorts in a way where I'm expressing that bigger picture idea and then shoving in an advertisement for Six Samurai in the middle of that. And it doesn't work because Six Samurai on its own is not a great reflection of the bigger picture idea that I have going on here. And so it comes across as very disconnected and bizarre. It's just like this seemingly separate philosophical idea and then this random action game thrown into the middle of it for some reason. So I realized my problem was that I just kept going back and forth between those two things. I'm stuck between thinking about how primarily I need to market this game, I need to publish or promote it, but also I want to play into my long-term branding plan here. So I had to accept that I need to do this piecemeal in iterations across each game that I develop. So essentially, I have to build up to my bigger idea. I think game by game, as I make them and release them, I'm going to make these same kinds of videos, but when I do them, I need to write them so that thematically they're always related to the game I'm making at that period of time. So I decided that's what I needed to do here. I need to let go of this fixation with trying to present my bigger message here. I think it was somewhat of an egotistical thing where I want people to get what I'm doing. And I'm being impatient about that, but no. I realized to do this right, to help it actually promote this game properly, I need to sit down and write these scripts in such a way that they are thematically always relevant to Six Samurai specifically, and then the way that ties into the bigger picture won't be apparent until many, many years later, and with each game I make, I'll have to be specific about it to help promote both promote that and at the same time work towards what my bigger vision is. So I had a good dozen or so, maybe even 20 of these short video scripts written out already, And after going through them and cutting out all the ones that had really nothing to do with the themes in Six Samurai at all, I ended up with just 3. So I know exactly what I'm doing at least now, but I took all the rest of them, put those aside as ideas to use some other time, and then I wrote a couple new ones now that I know exactly what I'm doing. So progress, more progress. It's a very iterative process, but yeah. And now that I've got this lab mic, this was the first major piece of equipment I needed to start making these videos. I'm just waiting on number 2, which is like an RGB LED light that I need to use for some fancy lighting in the video. And then I can finally properly start working on that. And finally, the last thing I did related to the game today was the dialogue script. I wasn't looking over the script really, I was just thinking about, I have known from the very beginning of this game exactly how I wanted the story to end. But then I was thinking, what I was still lacking was how to tie it all together with what the main theme of the game is, which I'm not going to spoil here, but yeah, I was just lacking, like, it has its conclusion, but it's lacking a resolution. It's lacking, like, the total finishing of what Genyu's arc will be. So I sat down and thought about what that needs to be, and I think thanks to the fact that this game is in many ways a reflection of my personal experiences most recently, thanks to the fact that I'm now in a much better place mentally and I'm able to see things more clearly, and I can see kind of the complete arc of the changes I went through in my own experiences, I feel like that gave me inspiration for what I can do to resolve Genyu's story. And so I was able to come up with a broader idea for that. Now, it's not really completely finished because I only have a vague thematic idea of what needs to happen for it to all tie together, but I know what to do now. I just need to find out how to fix it into the game, because it's I think a common thing in a lot of games. I remember seeing there was some YouTube video about this that someone made about how a lot of games, one of the major storytelling things that they often lack is, in fact, the resolution. The games often ends on like a single boss fight or a set piece, and maybe there's a short cutscene after, and that's kind of it. So I was thinking about how that was sort of my plan originally as well, and now I was realizing that actually I kind of need a little more time at the end, or I need to somehow during the plot build up to what the character's resolution is going to be. So I still need to work out the exact details of that, but yeah, I have a good idea of how to do it. So that was another nice piece of progress today. And that was the thing with the whole writing of these promotional campaign videos and the nature of this game, is because I came up with this game because I needed to make something marketable so I could make some money. That was the initial inspiration anyway. So I wasn't sure, does this game even fit in with my broader philosophical spiritual mission? And thanks to me thinking about this today, I realized that yes, it does. It took a while for me to figure out how, rather than it just being about one very specific idea. I can see now how actually no, it does kind of come back around and fit into my bigger picture. But yeah, because my first game fits into it perfectly. Magical Circle, it's a very universal idea and fits in perfectly. Very proud to have that as my first game. But this one felt a lot more specific and a lot more personal, and rather than more universal in its ideas. But I know how to wrap it around. And in some sense, I think that's oftentimes where the best art comes from, when it's something that's actually deeply personal, and it is through that specificity that it ends up actually becoming universal, because everyone else relates to it. Even if it's not even that everyone else relates to it, but it makes you relate to it even if you haven't experienced that in your own life, because there's just something so viscerally human about it, if that makes sense. All right, I think I covered most of everything I said in my original take of this video. I guess I didn't go through that very quickly, but whatever. And I pray to God that this time it recorded properly. I tested it quickly one more time before recording this one, so surely it caught it this time. Yeah. The only other thing I mentioned was being self-conscious about making these videos still, because I noticed how I'm often framing things in terms of other people watching these videos, but that wasn't the point. The point of these daily... Oh yeah, there was one other thing I forgot to talk about, but hold on. The point of these videos was for primarily my own personal use, and you know, if other people watch it, that's cool and all, but I want to talk in these videos, talk to the camera like I'm talking only to myself. To myself, my future self, and to just feel like I'm talking to myself when I'm here alone in my apartment and there's no camera on at all. I wonder even if maybe in order to truly accomplish that, I need to turn the camera on and just have it running for a long time before I actually start talking naturally, so that I'm not actively thinking about it. You know what I mean? Catch me in my wild habitat, so to speak. But yeah. So I think that covers everything. Still did a bunch of errand running today. That also took up my time, which is why I didn't get quite as much work done as I wanted to on the actual level itself, but I think I'll get a lot done tomorrow. And even though it's still pretty late at night, I am getting to bed a little earlier than I did last night, and that is also progress. Boom!